Hello, everyone. This is Mike Gormley. This is the Mike Gormley Show. Welcome to drop in and listen to some great conversations. Today it's a talk with a gentleman named Ira Ingber, who is a ace guitarist, a musician around LA for many, many years, and has worked with the basic topic of our conversation today is with Bob Dylan, and we're with him basically 40 years off and on. Is that right, Ira? That's a long time.
Started 40 years ago. It wasn't
Yeah.
continuous, but it goes back 40 years. Yeah.
When that's what was he doing then? What because
He was
he has
hitchhiking
this
and
roller coaster career. So
yeah, he was hitchhiking and I picked him up. No, he was uh we can yeah, this is a good way to start. So his manager at the time was a high school actually junior high school friend of mine named Gary Schaffner. And Gary was more of a personal manager, but he did everything for Bob. He traveled, he was a road manager, he did all this stuff. And Gary called me and said, Bob wants to have some people come up to the house in at Point Dume, and I think he said rehearse some things. Would you like to do it? And of course, I said, God, are you kidding? Why would I want to do that? So I put a band together, but I didn't put the whole band together. There was already a drummer there. His name was Charlie Quintana from Los Cruzados. And I didn't know at the time that Bob and Charlie and JJ Holiday and another fellow who I forgot had just done the Letterman show. Like, I don't know, a month earlier or something like that. And for whatever reasons, Bob was moving on, which is what he typically does. Charlie was still there, but I was asked to bring in a couple of musicians. So I brought a keyboard player, a bass player, and myself. So there were four of us playing with Bob at his house at Point Dume. And then Charlie had to leave, and I forgot why he did. And so then a fellow named Don Heffington came in, who I knew a little bit, got to know him very well. Sadly, he's no longer with us. So the core band for these rehearsals in 1984 was we were getting together. Hang on one second. Excuse me. I have to stop a cat from leaving. We would go up to his house 3, 4 times a week for a while. And we would just, jam some songs. The very first day I met Bob, I went there by myself. And of course, it was quite intimidating. There's the guy. And he, greeted me lukewarmly. And we had some small talk for a second. And then he gave me, I think it was 2 or 3 sheets of paper, onion skin, typewritten song list of songs, all of his. And he said, do you know any of these? And I said, yeah. So we started playing. And I guess I passed that audition. And so he said, and I've seen many people talk about this. Um, can you come back tomorrow? I won't do the Bob voice every time, but I'll do a little bit of it. Can you come back tomorrow? Yeah. And that tomorrow was when I brought in the other guys. So yeah, the first meeting, Charlie wasn't there. Charlie Quintana was. It was just the two of us. And then so we progressed to playing some of his songs, some weird combinations of others. Just he would pick a song out of the blue. Um, but it got more regulated to where, oh, here's the thing I want to try. He had a bunch of cassettes when we had cassettes, and people were giving him songs to try, and we were trying this and trying that. And then every once in a while, this new one that nobody knew would enter the picture, and he starts playing. And the way you learn a Bob song is he's playing it and you learn it. There's no, is this yours, Bob? Are we supposed to learn this? Are we supposed to uh, follow? Well, you learn that you're supposed to follow. That's what, until he says don't follow, which happened again during Shadow Kingdom a few times.
that was a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, that was a few years ago, the last album he released. And during the making of that album, he started playing Chuck Berry's School Days.
Mm.
Up in the morning, down to school, da, 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 da. And okay, I guess we're supposed to start playing that. We followed him the same way in 1984. You follow, and so but this time he stopped playing School Days, and he said, "Well, you can't beat that. Why would you even try?" So it was a lesson in survival at that point for the musician, but it was also meant to be educational for us because he was using it as a metaphor teaching tool that here's a song that's so difficult you shouldn't even try it. And this other thing that we were trying to do, which was one of his songs, we'll talk about Shadow Kingdom later. How could you even do anything with this thing? Why would you even try is what he was saying. But yet as a contradiction, that was our task. We had to try. So getting back to the 1984, we finally got a call from I got a call from Gary. Be at Cherokee Recording tomorrow. I think it was Cherokee, the old studio in Fairfax, which is no longer there. And we started recording an album. It turned out to be uh, Empire Burlesque. And then that dovetailed a year and a half later into more recordings, and that turned into Knocked Out Loaded. Those two albums are really one album. They're just
Mm.
continuous recording with a tour that he did in between, um, and the We Are the World recording that he did. So that was the beginning of it.
And he doesn't, you mentioned tour, he doesn't use the same musicians to tour with to record. I mean, you know, he's got the guys to take on the road and he's got whatever else for recording.
Yeah, well, I never understood, and even during Shadow Kingdom, I had asked him, because the guys he's with now, they've been with him for 25 years, some of them, 30 maybe. I know Tony, the bass player, has been there forever. Why they were not the ones called upon to record what became Shadow Kingdom. And he said, well, they don't know those songs. For the audience, Shadow Kingdom is a reimagining of Bob's great songs, the 60s and early 70s, and they were some of my favorite music he ever did. And so his explanation was, well, they don't know the song because I don't play them, which I'm not sure was the truth. It could have been, but I don't know. I don't know what his playlist consists of. I know that he does do Ballad of a Thin Man and never stopped doing it, but he claimed that the reason we were there, the assembled group to record Shadow Kingdom, was because his touring band didn't play those songs. And this was a weird distinction he made too, that the songs that he plays live he calls them stage songs. And that the other songs are called recording songs. I don't know what it means.
So
That was the
they don't
explanation.
necessarily cross paths.
Right. And so uh, those guys of his touring band never showed up for Shadow Kingdom,
Hmm.
and we never showed up for any live shows.
Were your expectations that you might go live, or was he just kind of just
Well, it certainly seemed that way. He was very happy um, with what finally came out of Shadow Kingdom. I don't think he had much. Uh, he didn't. I don't think he works with expectations for starters. But I think that the finished recordings, he seemed really happy about. I mean, he told me about it very, matter of fact. He said he loves this stuff, and what a great thing it was that we got to do. But I think, well, I know for sure the only reason Shadow Kingdom happened was because of COVID. Because if COVID hadn't come, he would have just kept touring, and there would have been no uh, allegedly live. He called it a Zoom. It wasn't Zoom. It was a Live Nation thing. Present a presentation, but it was never intended to be live. Although that I think it was, they the the Live Nation company thought they were probably getting a live Bob show, but it wasn't. It was never meant to be because he has a very firm belief that cameras and music don't mix. He was very outspoken about that, and I agree with him in a lot of respects. I think
Let me
music.
ask you, and not that you're appearing this way, but I'm wondering, are you comfortable talking about him, like maybe behind the scenes? Because I know he's very secretive, or can be.
Mhm.
Are you concerned that you're going to get a phone call?
Well,
You need to shut up.
my position with Bob, with the organization is one of complete candor.
Mhm.
So just to back up for a second. So Shadow Kingdom was and is about secrecy. And I was even told by one of his people at the office, well, it's Shadow Kingdom. What do you expect? And so um, I have to be careful about talking out of school about the things. But fortunately for me, a fellow named Tim Pierce, I can say his name because he's a public figure who has a very popular YouTube channel. A year and I replaced Tim in the recordings, and he made it very clear. He's got 300,000 some odd people talking on his channel. I mean, viewing his channel. He mentions everybody on the Shadow Kingdom album, all the personnel, and he published it about a year and a half after he was done recording. Well, he was let go. And Tim is a marvelous guitar player. He's played with everybody, Springsteen, Madonna, you name it. And I know him a little bit, and he's a lovely guy and a really great guitar player. And Bob absolutely did not like him. Bob's line to me was, I couldn't wait to get rid of that guy. When you came in, everything got better. And I had to remind Bob, I said, but Tim is I don't care about that. He didn't understand. And really, what happened for Tim, which fortunately did not happen to me, was that Tim came in, Don Was, I think, brought him in to recreate those great songs. It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, and Queen Jane, and uh, all the greats that we did. Times they are changing. And that's the furthest thing from Bob. Bob never does that. Every recording, every moment is about now. He's the most in the moment guy in the world I've ever met. So Tim got it wrong. He was very studious. He learned the parts of the records, which is what you would normally do. And this was the wrong thing to do. So talking about this thing, um, I'm not going to say anything that's not already public. I'm not going to amplify anything that is not already well known. Bob chose to not give credits on that record, and I don't know why. I don't think it's right, especially for people like Don Was, who worked really hard on that record. T-Bone Burnett worked hard on that record. Uh, Mike Persante, the engineer, worked really hard on that record, and musicians live by credits. So why Bob chose to not give credits after the bulk of his albums have credits on it, I don't understand. So am I comfortable in talking about him? I'm not going to say anything that hasn't already been said.
Mhm. Okay, that's okay. You're saying it here.
Yeah, I'm
It's
saying it
never been
here.
said here before.
It's never been said here, and it's never been said on a Tuesday in 2025, right?
That's right. Well, we'll get into that. We're gonna take a little break. We're actually gonna listen to one of the great. Well, there's so many great Dylan songs, but this one I happen to like because I'm from the North Country, but it's called "Girl from the North Country," and we'll listen to that on the way out
Okay,
and do a little commercial, and then we'll come back in, which is
good,
a pretty good plan.
good. Sounds like a
So
plan.
thanks for listening, folks. This is the Mike Gormley Show. Our guest is Ira Ingber, and we're talking about Bob Dylan, and we'll get into about the recent movie a little bit too. So come on back.